impressed with how strong it started. It does look like we're about to get into the game, though, so we're going to go ahead and queue up game 1 of Nesh versus Bicheins. And one thing I do want to point out, too, the last point I want to make about Thresh Nashus as we get into this game, I think I just said Nashus a little bit again, which is going to continue to happen, which we actually...
It's a hard deck to say.
It's not cool. We are already seeing it played here, actually, on the side of Nesh, and then we have Spider Aggro on the side of Bicheins. But I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, if you agree, I feel like whenever we see this deck, it's usually, I'd say maybe at least 2/3, if not 3/4 of the time, picking up wins with this aggressive caretaker strategy more often than the atrocity on Nasus.
I think that that's the case. Like, and we even see it now. Nesh has the caretaker with the attack token. Is going to be here on round 3. It's already good to go. And even a swarmy deck like Spiders being able to potentially meet the unit requirement to survive is still going to be struggling, I think, to fight back.
Yeah,
when
two
who was it?
There was
double Doomkeeper, 1 for defense. I love the flexibility of this card, where just generating 2 bodies in 1 action is fantastic for just defending your Nexus as well. And I forget who it was. Somebody posted on Twitter that they went, like 10-0 with Nasus Thresh in Masters, and I asked how many of those wins came from Atrocity. They said 10. So I guess at very, very high levels of play, perhaps players are navigating this early game a bit better. But in terms of the wider variety of decks you're seeing in a Swiss-styled tournament like this, I think just that punchy power is fantastic. But here we go. Blighted Caretaker, this is actually one of the weaker outcomes we've seen. No Cursed Keeper, no very wide board. You're still going to push through a little bit of damage here, though, and take out this Legion Saboteur.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the good things about this deck going up against an aggro deck where, most of the aggro units, especially for something like Spider Aggro, they're going to be killable by the saplings. Like, even this Legion Rearguard that's coming down. And we have, unfortunately for Bicheins, another Blighted Caretaker in hand. This just feels so terrible. It's looking like we actually are going to get 2 Crawling Sensations on a Bicheins. So this is going to be a huge level up super early on Elise going for a really big attack. But again, I mean, actually, you know what? Now that I'm walking this through in my head, with Decimate and Noxian Fervor, although Nesh is probably going to be able to come back like advantage-wise and kill most of the field of Bicheins with the Caretaker, I think Bicheins actually might be able to aggro Nesh down far faster with the current hand that we have.
And your only out against something like this would be perhaps Rite of Negation. If Bicheins chooses the wrong target for Noxian Fervor, it could get cleaned up by a Black Spear or a Vile Feast. So the timing is still definitely going to be there. And as long as Bicheins can keep the board clear, the Rite of Negation is going to need to sacrifice a mana crystal rather than a unit. And when you're trying to fight against your opponent for tempo in the mid game, having being down 1 mana is actually way more important, way more impactful.
And we were actually just forced to play Spirit Leech without actually getting the draw off. We're also sacking it for the saplings. Like, this feels like such an absolutely bad position for Nesh here. And you can't, like, I actually always bring this up about champion spells too, Skarzik. I feel like that champion spells exist. Like, your opponent could possibly have them. But I feel like the percentage times that you're actually playing around champion spells is pretty low. So seeing Bicheins open up there with 2 Crawling Sensations, I don't think, considering that's not a main deck card, that's something that Nesh is really going to be concerned about. And there's just nothing you can do about that this early on in the game.
There are some variants of Spiders that were main decking a couple copies of Crawling Sensation, but having the triple Elise draw for the double Crawling Sensation is basically everything's going in Bicheins' favor. Yesterday we saw over and over and over again the Bakai Reaper into Cursed Keeper into Blighted Caretaker, just
so good,
annihilating games. And now we're seeing some of the outcomes of Thresh Nasus where they are kind of struggling to get that early advantage, and because the units they're generating are ephemeral, they're having a tough time on defense.
Yeah, and there's the Decimate. We only got 3 left to do. There's a Noxian Fervor staring at least us in the face, Skarzing. Maybe not Nesh, but this does look like Bicheins is going to be able to get an incredibly quick victory. Now, what I will say is right now, actually, if we Noxian Fervor the Imperial Demolitionist, we would not be able to kill it with Atrocity, but the open attack alone is going to be able to to do it for us. Even if we did Atrocity a Spiderling, we still are going to lose. And that is Bicheins taking it away there with a very quick game one, Scars. Like, aggro's still killing it, baby.
Spider aggro, it has that capability, right? It's a bit like discard. I talked about this a little bit yesterday, where Spider aggro really unites the different play styles of a lot of different aggro decks and brings them all together under one roof. You've got the swarm of discard, you've got the fearsome package from the Wraith aggro decks, and just that top end burn from pirate aggro joining into the mix. And it's just the flexibility and the new card draw being added with Stalking Shadows and Unto Dusk has really positioned the deck in a great spot. And we see there that as long as you don't get completely beat up by Nasus Thresh, they do still need to respect your win condition a little bit. And so Nesh going to try now to pick up a win with this deck against Nightfall.
Yeah, and so this is, and just to kind of go over as well, because we didn't go over the actual deck lineup. So Bicheins, as it currently stands, is running Nightfall aggro, Discard aggro, and Spider aggro. So this is one of the triple aggro lineup players, whereas Nesh, we did just see the Nasus Thresh, so much SH. We also have the Dragon deck that we had seen previously, which I believe this one was Zoe Aurelian Soul, yep. And then also running TLC, it looks like, Matron. So
okay. And so again, getting the win with Nasus Thresh is this is a surprisingly close matchup, I think, where again most decks crumple to the same sequence: Curse Keeper, Blighted Caretaker. But we saw yesterday where just consistent chip damage with the Flight, a little bit of stabilization off of Doom Beast, and you might just be able to close things out. Even if you don't have good answers against Nasus, there might come a point where committing 6 mana to one big play like that might not be enough.
Well, and I think, so actually, I'm glad you brought up the Flight, right? Because when we were seeing this before, I feel like one of the concerns when Nightfall aggro was going up against some other sort of aggressive type deck was that when you commit Flight to the board, although you're pushing the 2 damage with Elusive, because most of the time these aggro decks won't deal with it, you're losing tempo on board because the Flight is shuffling itself back into the deck, right? And I do think that will be another concern for Bicheins. I don't think it'll be that big of a deal with the current hand we see, because we do have 2 Duskbringers, so we're going to have a lot of units sticking to the board. We also have 2 Doom Beasts in hand as well, which I do like that initial Doom Beast play to take down that Abomination. That shows me that Bicheins was kind of prepared for the worst case scenario there in getting that Cursed Keeper already triggered off of something like a Ravenous Butcher, which is what we just saw.
And I was surprised that Nesh didn't go for a Black Spear there.
Yeah.
Bicheins only had 1 mana open. You remove the 3/2 and then you swing for 7. Try to get out ahead of this thing. I think the hand quality just maybe isn't what you'd like to see to back up a play like that. And so just taking something a bit more reserved, improving your draws, and seeing where the deck truly is trying to guide your line before committing to something like that. Diana now going to come down and continue to even out this board. This is one of the only decks that has a consistent amount of early game interaction, it feels like, with Diana and with like a really clutch Nocturne to keep your opponent from just getting way out ahead of you in terms of unit advantage.
Yeah, Diana is essentially 2 damage removal when everything's said and done. We might be able to utilize a Black Spear now, and I think Skarsgård, that's why we weren't seeing it before, is, all right, we need to save this for really key units, although we could have saved the Abomination there. I feel like saving it for either Nocturne or Diana is going to be really clutch, especially because Diana does represent a tempo shift of basically 2 units where you're developing the Diana and, killing one of your other opponent's units, and then obviously Nocturne is just Nocturne. He's a beast when he actually gets down and levels up and swings for a pretty big attack turn. So I do like Nesh saving that Black Spear, and we can see here, though, Bicheins, I mean, those Dust Petal Dust, it seems like there's more cards than Bicheins really has, but with a Stalking Shadows in hand, too, this is definitely looking like Bicheins is going to have an okay time making it the next couple of turns to the later game, and then building up their own assault against Nesh.
Double Nocturne in hand is also really sweet. You have that AoE debuff that we saw come up so heavy yesterday to just stop that Blighted Caretaker swing. I was really wondering if Bicheins was going to swing in on that last turn just to guarantee that these Duskbringers go against real targets. rather than getting just taken out by saplings. And by trading them away, you potentially force your opponent to either just open attack you for 3 damage, or give you a chance to develop against what they play instead. But here comes another Doom Beast, just evening out. I love this. Off of the Stalking Shadows, you got the Ephemeral Doom Beast here as just a freebie blocker.
Yeah, and I think that, so, all right, so we were just talking about how Thresh Nasus usually is picking up wins with kind of the strategy we're seeing, where you flood the board, you go wide, you try to aggro down the opponent. Now, obviously, we're going up against an aggro deck, so it's a little bit different. But let's, and I've had this discussion with so many other people before. When you see aggro versus aggro, 9 times out of 10, I feel, if whoever has the Doom Beast has a significant advantage, right? Just because you're not only dealing damage to your opponent, but you're also healing your face. And you can see here, too, Bicheins, we're still at 19. Although Nesh has a decent-sized field, we're not really at risk of dying anytime soon, and we can slowly but surely just outvalue Nesh as the game goes on with things like Stalking Shadows. But we do see Nesh with a glimpse beyond finally off the top, so that will help immensely to start refueling a little bit in hand.
This deck, Nasus, Thresh, it is a deck that really enjoys being in the driver's seat. And outside of, getting this early insurmountable advantage, does kind of struggle to stop the opponent from them getting set up and doing what it wants to do. Nasus is very big.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
But we still have Nocturne in play. Combined with Diana, you get a potential for just a fearsome turn. AoE debuff on the board. Try to get a fearsome swing to close this out. 14 HP. There's still a lot of work to be done on both sides.
Yeah, this is, and something to keep in mind, too. I don't know how much this is going to pop up, but we were just talking about champion spells, so I feel like this matters. If we do get a Nocturne down, that does mean there will be an active Unspeakable Horror to worry about. And that might come into play later. I mean, I think you were joking yesterday during one of the game scars. You're like, hey, man, maybe Nightfall generates an Unspeakable Horror, and now that's going to be lethal, right? Or some randomly generated card.
Yeah, Cloven Way.
Yeah, or Cloven Way. That's where like maybe we get a Cloven Way to end the game. Now, I don't know if that's really going to matter, but even the Unspeakable Horror in this match, I think could be a pretty big deal. It is drain 1, again, giving Bicheins a little bit of an advantage in that category of just having that lifesteal or that life gain versus Nesh. And yeah, here comes the first Nocturne. That is a huge debuff, and this is looking to be a very huge swing.
Nocturne right now is 0 out of 5. Bicheins has been on defense the entire time, so Nocturne isn't going to level, but you do have some very clutch pools with the vulnerable Bakai now and Diana cleaning up this board.
Yeah, this is going to be... Wow, that's a big Diana, too. Jesus. That's, it's not often that we actually see Diana get, like, multiple procs, I feel, of her additional attack. I feel like it's usually just she comes out as a 2-2 and then she eventually dies, or if she does level up, she maybe gets one hit off with, like, 5 attack or something. But in this case, still going to die anyways. Still going to have that black spear. Again, Nesh really saving those black spears for those crucial units. Apparently valuing getting rid of the Diana more than the Nocturne, which I got to agree with, because I do feel like Nocturne is the bigger swing card in this matchup, whereas Nocturne is more of a finisher, and Bicheins really isn't in a finishing position right now. But Nesh might be in the finishing position. Wow. Whew. That's a big boy.
That is a 12-12 fearsome. Nocturne needs to 1v4 here. Next round, Nesh is going to have access to a siphoning strike, and that's going to shut down anything that Bicheins develops from this position. Stalking Shadows into Doom Beast, though.
Wow. That card, I'm just telling you, when you can get Doom Beast on Doom Beast on Doom Beast, it just feels so good. And I gotta say it, because I've been wanting to say it ever since I heard you say it, Skarzig. But that is a big old Susan on field, all right, baby. That is a big old Susan. I can get on board with that one. I can get on board with that.
And right now, and here's the thing, right? You can see the hesitation here. Doom Beast seems like a solid play, but it's not blocking very well. You're already at max Nash's.
See,
Nexus,
it's hard.
HP. It's all, I know, you get mixed up. Thresh, Nexus, and I think that Bicheins is kind of tempted to go for the Shade Stalker here. Try to get some elusive damage through and push through. You've got double Unspeakable Horror to maybe even get Doom Beast anyway.
Even the Crescent Guardian. Even the Crescent Guardian feels okay. I mean, that's a lot of additional damage pushed through Overwhelm. I mean, one of them will get chump blocked by the Nasus, obviously, but you know, you're looking at least, actually, with the Abomination, I guess you're only pushing through 2 damage. So with the Lunari Shadestalker, you're guaranteeing 4. So I guess in that situation, the Shadestalker is the correct choice, and it's going to be Doom Beast. Although Doom Beast is also 4 damage, right? Technically.
Yeah,
so.
you get the Doom Beast down, and this gives you you know, you still have to sacrifice the Nocturne here, of course. Decides not to play the Doom Beast.
Yeah, that's... Well, okay, I guess because he wants to really utilize the Drain effect now.
Yeah, just offsetting some of this damage with healing. If you play the Doom Beast, though, you get to sacrifice it to Nasus rather than sacrificing the Nocturne. But again, you got to remember, one of those Unspeakable Horrors is a Nocturne in hand. Probably wants to get the rep off of his vulnerable effect.
Yeah, we got plenty of Nocturnes. We got Nocturnes to go around for everybody right now.
Yeah, this is a terrifying position to be in. However, you now have Nasus leveled up with Spell Shield, the debuff aura, and there's the Atrocity at the perfect time.
You want to talk about a good top deck, Skarzig? Holy wow, that is timing.
Excellently timed.
You gotta love to see it, man. That's a smile. If we had Nesh's webcam right now, that's a big smile. I can just picture it. I can picture it. You level up Nasus.
Take one attack off the Nasus. It doesn't matter. Man. You can just let her rip here. Yeah. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the game, Nightfall has no play against this. Oh, going for the Giga. Wants to take down the Nocturne, get this dog
style points, baby.
Possible.
Style points. Let's go. I like it. I like that. I mean, and technically, I guess this is correct because you should want your opponent to play more cards before you play Atrocity, but I guess you could argue either way. But that is going to be
want to deal mental damage.
Yeah, that's some style points there. I love to see that, Skarzig. And we don't see Siphoning Strike played that often either, so it's good to actually see that go off. And oh yeah, actually, and that's a good point in chat too. Unto Dusk would have actually triggered the Doom Beast there, so I do think technically we needed the additional damage to really secure the win. Let me see, is Bicheins playing Unto Dusk? Let me see if that's actually the case.
Yeah, it's got to be. Like 3 of core with the Doom Beast and the card draw. So strong.
Yeah, yep, 3 Unto Dusk. Yep, yeah. So, all right, cool. So that's Nesh doing an awesome job playing around absolutely everything there. But we get to see the dragons, baby. Let's go. I love seeing these dragons play, Skarzig. This is awesome.
I'm glad that the meta really favors like this heavy stat mid-range style and the flexibility of the deck. We've seen the entire spectrum, I think, of the dragon lists where you're running Zoe Shyvana for more early game. You're running like way more dragons and Inviolus Vox for a very heavy mid game. You've got Aurelion Sol with Eclipse Dragon at the top end for the very late game focused builds. And this one is trying to get the best of both worlds with Zoe and Aurelion Sol. Beautiful curve coming out of Nesh's side here in game 3. It's going to be very tricky for Nightfall for sure in this matchup. Not just because it's not that they don't have the damage output, but just the raw healing. You're hitting through the fangs, you're trying to beat out a star shaping, and if you're healing for 10-ish, you really start to get out of their reach. It's a very slow burn into a finished style, but not a lot of early aggression you'd expect from an aggro deck.
Well, I will say, and I mentioned this yesterday, I'm just going to say, I feel like a broken record, but I got to say it. I've seen some Targon games where there is all the lifesteal in the world, all the heal in the world, and somehow the aggro deck, whether it be discard aggro, pirate aggro, Nightfall, I mean, there's so many different aggro variants, they still manage to just output an insanely ridiculous amount of damage. And I don't know if that's going to be the case here from Bicheins. We do have the Crescent Guardian to start off, so maybe that is going to give us a decent amount of early damage here. But I'm just saying, it ain't over till it's over, like I mentioned yesterday, and it might be something here.
I agree. We had the early curve, but Zoe gets traded away from the flight. Right now, we just have the Fangs and Sharp Sight to potentially heal off some damage. There's no dragon to activate the Dragon Guard Lieutenant there. And, there's the world where the early aggression hits through. You play the Fangs to try to stabilize, and it just gets pulled down to the bottom of the stack because it gets hit with Nocturne or there's a Diana in play. And so then the smork just happens.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point, too. Diana could very easily deal with Fangs if Nesh doesn't have some sort of follow-up like a Sharp Sight or... I mean, we have 2 Sharp Sight in single combat, so I imagine if Diana were to become a problem at some point to remove something like the Fangs, Nesh will have the response for it, but we won't know for a little while here. I will say, though, Bicheins not pushing really any damage yet. I think we will start to see some push this turn, but that is a little bit concerning going into turn 4, Nesh still being at 20. I imagine we're going to start seeing some cards fly, but it's going to be tough. This is kind of a tough spot, I think, for Bicheins right now. We really don't have a good way to activate this, or actually, sorry, we have a Dust Petal Dust. Never mind, I take it all back. So it looks like we are going for the Diana here.
Yeah, so you can preemptively set up the Diana here to pull the Mountain Goat to the side, push 4. You still have mana left over for a Crescent Guardian here, but you're giving up the threat of Pale Cascade, perhaps. With a board like this is actually a really opportune moment to perhaps get a Stygian Onlooker to hit through.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, Stygian Onlooker. Now, ooh. Do we want to do... I feel like maybe Crescent Guardian would be the way to go here, just to play kind of mana efficiently. Although we would
gank it's very efficient
for
Crescent Guardian. I guess it depends on how much mind game, how much threat you want to keep up with the Unspeakable Horror, or potentially threatening a Pale Cascade.
Yeah, and this list doesn't play like Judgment or anything. No, okay. So I'm just thinking of kind of board wipes if that's a concern. I don't think it is. So I think the Stygian Onlooker isn't as important to kind of hold on to for one of those redevelopment turns, so to speak. So you might be right. Maybe we just go ahead and jam it here. The Unspeakable Horror not going to really do a whole lot. And Doom Beast, I mean, Doom Beast does heal us right now too, so...
Yeah, you get some healing off the Doom Beast. This is tricky with the Fangs because you really want to take it down with Diana to sidestep that lifesteal. And I suppose a really weird line you could go for is just to hit something with Unspeakable Horror and try to generate a Pale Cascade. That way you have 2 damage onto the Fangs there to offset Sharp Sight. But Bicheins is just going to go for it. Putting the Fangs at the top of the stack. That way if there is a combat trick, the lifesteal will still be wasted.
Is there ever a world here where you Unspeakable Horror this Danger Noodle, as Zoe would call it? I imagine that would only happen if maybe Nesh like commits a Sharp Sight or a single combat here. So like, let's say we committed a Sharp Sight to the Fangs. Do we ever then commit something like the Unspeakable Horror to the Danger Noodle?
I think that since the
Are you? I think maybe you're okay
go
with
down
the trade
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think since it's going to die anyway to a 1-drop, you're kind of okay with that. If you're trying to protect a Nocturne or your Diana, you'd probably go for that line. You also get to sit on Unspeakable Horror for dealing with Zoe potentially. I like this a lot.
Yeah, this maximizes how much damage Nesh is actually preventing here, and on top of that, also ends up saving this Fangs. You know, we're gonna prevent this 4 damage from the Stygian Onlooker, which feels amazing. And also save our Fangs, and also kill Diana. I mean, this single combat, I gotta say, is probably one of the higher value single combats I've seen in a while. And I think you're right. I mean, now that I'm seeing this play out, Skarzig, you know, I think we're okay with trading the Serpent with the Lunari. Okay, no, we are actually we're gonna pull it out. So BK is seemingly valuing having the additional units off. Oh, this levels Diana too. I don't think that matters though.
She's gonna become a 3/3. Again, there's a real world where you don't develop the Onlooker, you preemptively Unspeakable to try to get Pale Cascade to avoid some plays like this. But at the end of the day, getting Lunari Priestess is one of the best pools you can get in this situation and in this matchup, because it can get you a really expensive potential extra win condition to play. Because in this matchup, especially now, we see like no early advantage has really been carved out for Bicheins. We know this is going to go long. The saving grace is no Screeching Dragon or Shyvana on Nesh's side. Oh wait, there is no Shyvana in the deck. Remember this one, Zoe Aurelian Saul. But again, no Screeching Dragon or like a second Fangs going into the mid game here. So Bicheins does have a lot of options here.
Yeah, Screeching Dragon, probably the biggest dodge there for Bicheins. I mean, we talked about this yesterday where Screeching Dragons is basically in, almost every single Demacia deck at this point. And when you're going up
it's
against...
an honorary champion.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, honestly, you're probably not wrong. But I feel like when it goes up against these, kind of smaller unit decks here, or these, even like we're talking about Go Hard, I think at the time, was when Screeching Dragon were like, yeah, it could pick off these 1 health units, these 2 health units, and essentially just keep growing throughout the game. And this is no different here. Screeching Dragon would make a big impact. Not seeing that yet. Even this Dragon Guard Lieutenant would have to evenly trade with everything on the field of Bicheins right now, so it doesn't feel like the greatest challenger unit. So really, we're just stuck with, until we're able to get this Eclipse Dragon down, trying to keep the Mountain Goat and the Fangs alive, which Fangs definitely kind of a saving grace here, but it's going to be hard, I think. Oh, actually grabbing the Golden Sister. Okay, that's going to be more elusive damage coming through for Bicheins next turn, potentially.
I was wondering about that choice, too, because Golden Sister, it seems really good on paper. 2 units in 1 action, of course. It's +1 attack over the Trickster, but it is very expensive. But when you just look at Bicheins' hand, there is no reason not to just have 1 big expensive play from this position.
We should have kept our mouth shut, Skarsgård. This is what happens. There it is. It's off the top. We shouldn't have said anything. This feels pretty bad for Bicheins, especially because we do have the Sharp Sight to actually block this Silver Sister. So this very well could be the Screeching Dragon, maybe even blocking with a Sharp Sight, or actually everything else. No, the Fangs and the Mountain Goat would actually trade evenly with it. So maybe we see that here from Nesh. This suddenly looks a little bit better for Nesh, but Bicheins still, I think, in the driver's seat. I mean, we have Stalking Shadows to go ahead and refuel our hand up a little bit, not to mention Doom Beast in hand, and Crescent Guardian to possibly go for that kind of final push turn a little bit later. So
getting the swing in with the Onlooker and the Lunari Priestess does level up Nocturne.
Yeah.
So that is going to be an interesting factor going into the later stages of the game here. But yeah, just a lot of value going through. Not even really caring about the Silver Sister at this point. Maybe wanting to sit on the Sharp Sights for a surprise factor, but actually does decide to commit here.
Yeah, there it is. And that, honestly, I mean, that feels really good. That feels really, really good. You block and kill an elusive unit. Now you have a 7-4 challenger with Fury, or, well, 5-4 after the Sharp Sight goes away. But it's still going to be able to pick off these 2 attack units and still continue to grow. And not only that, it's going to be at 3 health when everything is said and done. Plus, you have gems. And another Screeching Dragon. Never mind, we just drew another Screeching Dragon off top. This is starting to look really, really good for Nesh, almost entirely because of these Screeching Dragons. So hopefully Bicheins can make use of something like this Gravitum to kind of stave off this onslaught of dragons now that Nesh is putting together.
You might need to absorb this. If you have, like, if you had a Nocturne or something this round you really wanted to try and develop safely, you could probably do it. But I think that because you have 2 chumps in play already to absorb the Screeching Dragon, maybe you just go for Stock Pass. There's still a lot of Doom Beasts potentially to be procced, but the rest of the damage just isn't there to follow up on this at all.
Yeah, there it is. There's the Gravitum. So that is going to get 2 solid turns of stunts here. And not for nothing, I mean, Nesh did commit basically everything. We have no units left. We do still have a very low amount of cards in hand. This does set up Bicheins to go in for a pretty big swing next turn with Crescent Guardian and a Doom Beast tossed down.
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting the Crescent Guardian to come down. I thought that maybe a Doom Beast would come down. Maybe getting pulled by the Screeching Dragon instead, and you get to set up the Crescent Guardian in a safer position so that you can attack into Nesh with it. I suppose developing it like this, Bicheins is saying, do you have another Sharp Sight?
Yeah, because if there was no Sharp Sight from Nesh, I guess the idea is even if Nesh pulled one of these 2-1s, the Crescent Guardian's still going to trade with the Screeching Dragon next turn. And I do think Bicheins does need to get these off the field, otherwise they're going to continue to be a problem. So I don't hate this play, but because there is a Sharp Sight, it's going to feel pretty bad. Although, again,
no
this Screeching
Pale
Dragon probably
Cascade
trade
to follow up on that. The Unspeakable Horror, if that had been saved, would have really come through clutch too to maybe sort out that trade.
Yeah, so close. And then now the Screeching Dragon, the 7/3, will be able to block one of these 2/1s and still live yet again going into next turn. So now, because of that trade, though, Bicheins will almost certainly just play out the hand next turn and just try to go wide and just attack with as much as possible.
Ooh,
yeah.
So this is interesting too. Cashing in the gem right now to have a better value trade against the open attack, but also you're still retaining enough mana to do gem into the Eclipse Dragon. You love the Daybreak to discount a dragon, but at this point you really need the resource generation. And here's the stock.
Wow. That's a pull.
Wait a minute. Hang on. Crunch the numbers. Crunch the numbers,
lethal?
JDoza.
Well, I'm not that great at math. Don't put the pressure on me, Skarzig. No. All right, hold on.
Okay,
4,
so we've
8.
got Nocturne coming through to put vulnerable on the Screeching Dragon, or
Was that
and then because it's leveled up, you'll have -2 more attack off of the double Stygian to follow up with that.
So 6, 10, 4. That's game. That's game if we play the Nocturne and vulnerable. But, all right, hold on. The Eclipse Dragon, though, how does that come into play? That's going to block the Nocturne. So that's going to be...
If Nesh
4, 8, 9, 10,
sets
12,
up
13.
the Fangs here, it's going to get debuffed by Nocturne and won't be able to block the Fearsome.
Oh, man.
And you would need to get something clutch like Crescent Strike off of it to survive.
So Nesh lives if Eclipse Dragon is played at 1, I believe. And okay, that's a really intelligent pass from Nesh. I like that. But we still are in the same boat. We're still in the same boat.
We know that Stygian Onlooker came off of the Stalking Shadows.
Yep.
Nesh is saying, okay, well, it's not lethal this turn. You block one of the Stygians. You're still taking 11.
Well, let's
so it's
see.
still a little bit work to be done. You would need to. You're worried about maybe like Doom Beast Unto Dusk type shenanigans. So I think that Nesh, who did again play around Unto Dusk in the Thresh Nash's match, is still going to be mindful of that card once again and might say, okay, I need to develop the Fangs here to offset some of this damage, because committing everything to the Eclipse Dragon is perhaps a bit too expensive for my taste. Like fully tapping out, giving Bicheins a blank check to develop fully.
And I love this. I love this gem. Oh, okay, we're going for the Nightfall.
The Eclipse Dragon, again, the correct call.
Yeah.
In this very specific scenario where the Fangs would not be able to block Nocturne, perhaps the slow developments like this of the Stygian Onlookers maybe gave it away. Maybe Nesh got the hand read, knew the Nocturne was coming.
But this is still going to be a big swing. So if I actually did math correctly, I believe we still live at 1. Not sure if that's... But I do know that Nesh seemingly does live here. We're going to block the Nocturne. We're going to pull the Screeching Dragon with one of the 2/1s, and that's 4, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13. Sorry, we live at 2, I believe. If I redo that math. So, which we do have, Skarzig, we do have a Doom Beast. So unless we get some heal off at the very start of the turn, which honestly we have to develop the Fangs first. If Bicheins draws like a burst speed Nightfall activator, that could be lethal next turn.
And I'm gonna... So the trade has come through. Nocturne sacrificing his life just for the sake of the small ones, punching through, and that is 2. Nesh gonna have to develop Fangs here. Get a single combat at the top. Star shaking.
Oh, that is such a good top deck. Oh my god.
You're in the clear.
Oh, what a great top deck, Skarzig. Oh my god. Not to mention the Fangs too. That's insane. Not the greatest Nightfall activator either, just having to pre-commit this Nocturne. I mean, we're just going for it. We're just hoping that Nesh doesn't have heal.
Yeah, playing the Nocturne just for the sake of activating the Doom Beast this round to try to close it out before things go awry. But the Fangs now gets to swing in. Nocturne's getting sacrificed by the Screeching Dragon. There's really no point, I think, in playing him just to die out, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the only thing there would have been if Nesh didn't top deck Star Shaping, if Bicheins top decked the Burst Speed activator so that Nesh could not go ahead and attack with his Fangs. And unfortunately, that does mean, thanks to this lifesteal out of Targon, Nesh gonna probably be taking it home here in just a second. This Doom Beast, there's the sad horror emote.
There's the stabilization.
That feels so bad. I wonder if Nesh will, just because there's no hand for BK, just rip the star shaping. Just do it.
And yeah, you're thinking, okay, what are the weird outs I have from the position? Get another Gravitum to set up a really clutch turn. I believe that was a Nocturne number 3 getting answered there down the drain. And even if you're like, okay, I somehow managed to get my hands on a really clutch Cygnus the Moonstalker, we've got Trickster now and the Empyrean waiting to block that. Bicheins variant, Moonlight Affliction, I believe is one of the top end cards.
That's a good question. I believe a lot of people are playing it. Yeah, it's a one of Moonlight Affliction.
So there's a Moonlight Affliction and an Atrocity in this deck for the late game. And if there is no more healing, the current board... Oh,
no, there we go. There it is.
To completely seal that, just shut the door on that line. Nesh is doing a fantastic job of just playing safe, but also demoralizing Bicheins here.
Oh man, yeah, that's why I was wondering if Nesh was just gonna rip it last turn to see if we just get the surrender. But Bicheins gonna do out the rest of the game, be a good sport here. Now we're even gonna get the Scourge off of the star shaping. Oh man, I think that's GG's. It is. And Nesh taking down Bicheins there, gonna advance to the top 4 semifinals of OLS number 24, baby. Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, very, very, I think, standard what you expect from that matchup. Nightfall into Demacia, into Demacia Dragons is that if you can get your damage weaved in between them being able to draw or efficiently play their healing, you can come out ahead. But the double Screeching Dragon did so much to not only even out the board, but stay alive and block against that swing. Just having the high attack power, having the Fury proc means that they're resistant to getting debuffed by Nocturne. They're going to be, being able to block Fearsome pretty much no matter what you do. And it was very close. I know that feeling as a Nightfall player where you're just about to close things out and then the healing comes through. And to be fair, Targon kind of does that to everybody.
All right. Well, yeah, Targon, I mean, I mentioned at the beginning of the game that maybe the aggro deck can still clutch stuff out because I've seen it so many times. But yes, star shaping, fangs, like there is so much heal. There's so many things that Targon can do. And then when you combine Targon with the Screeching Dragons, it's GG's, baby. It's GG's. So with that said, just to give you guys an update too on the brackets, it does look like Tomas took down Malworth there 2-0. We still have Pinpingo up against Dr. Spike. They're currently up 1-0. And Sonic Holic did take down Gab, going to take on Nesh, who we just saw beat Beacon. So I do believe that's going to be the match that we do next there, Nesh versus Sonic Holic. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and go to a quick break, get all this set up for the semi-finals coming right up here for the OLS number 24. Don't go anywhere. We still got plenty more Legends of Runeterra action coming right up.